So, hello and welcome to this short video. It's going to be casting tips and knots for jigging. Yes. And I'm going to link past videos in the description, so if you have any more questions about other videos related to this, they'll be in the description. I've done lots of casting videos in the past. Pendulum cast, South African cast, OTG, but I've never done any about spinning, right? And believe it or not, there is actually, or jigging, either or, right, whatever you want to call it, there is actually a good way to cast and a not so good way to cast, right? And with all casting, right, the first place you have to go to is to get that rod tip down, right? And in this video I'm going to show you how to do it and what it looks like. It's really easy. You'll get a great improvement on your distance by just following these simple tips. They are very simple. It doesn't take anything. And I'm going to run through light jigs and heavy jigs. I'm just going to show you both with the same jig. But when you're casting heavy jigs and indeed soft plastics, it kind of changes. And if you cast a heavy soft plastic the way you would a light soft plastic on a jigging rod, it tends to mess with its trajectory and mess with its flight and make it wobble and stuff like that. And there is a way to stop it, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Right, so first of all, we just roll through some casting. This is not a fishing video. Every time I said that in the past, I always hook up. So this is my guy here. That's a 60 gram twin assists, right? 5,000 size reel, Shimano Nasic, and Abu Salty style, 30 to 100 grams, PE 2 to 4, right? It's got 35 pound main line, 8 strand, and it's got a 40 pound leader on it right now. And that's the knot I'm going to show you how to tie. We get a cast in the water and we see how we get on, right? As with all casting, the trick is to get your hands up, and this allows you to get the tip down, and this increases the arc that you cast. If you're starting at this point here, you can see compared to the last position, you lose a lot of the arc. And what this allows you to do is load that rod up and store all the energy in the blank to the point of the push-pull, okay? I'm just going to put one out and you can see how easy it is to do, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to swing the jig out behind me, and I'm going to wait for that jig to lift, right? And when it lifts, I can lower the rod tip. It takes a bit of timing, it takes a bit of practice, but anything worth doing generally does, okay? So I'll just show you, and I'll show you again and again and again until you get it. I like a drop of somewhere between half or a little bit less the length of the rod. If I'm on a really flat beach, I'd like half the length of the rod. But this one has a little bit of curve on it, so I'm going to go up a little bit more. And before you cast, always check your tip ring, make sure it's not tangled or anything else like that. And the way I do that generally is I just take the jig in my hand like this, and I just pull it so I can see the tip of the rod, and then I can see it's clear, and then you know you're safe to cast. So I'm just going to swing the jig out, and then I'm going to drop the rod tip. And so you can see there, when the jig lifted, I dropped the rod tip. You probably didn't see my elbows. The rod tip went down, my hands went up like this, right? I'll show you that now. It's not difficult at all. You'll have no trouble replicating it. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like from this side. Since you saw it from the back, now you can see it from the front. I'm going to swing the jig out. When the jig swings out, I'm going to drop the rod tip, and then I'm going to lift my arms, and then I'm going to move into the cast, right? So I'm just going to swing the jig out, down, up, gone. And that's as simple as it is. It just takes a bit of timing, and pretty soon, with a little bit of practice, you'll have it nailed. So I'm going to get this jig in. I'm going to show you how to cast heavier jigs, 100 grams and up. I don't cast more than 150. Well, that's not true. Sometimes I'll cast 200 gram jigs, but that's not very often. So now I'm going to show you how to cast a heavy jig. It doesn't matter whether it's a fast jig, a slow jig, or a soft plastic. For some reason, if I come out to the side, the jigs tumble and they have a weird flight path. But with a heavy jig, I like to come straight over the top. And this seems to straighten things out, whether it's a soft plastic or a metal jig. And in fact, it's exactly the same, but easier, put it that way. Most people will find it easier. And of course, you can cast light jigs like that as well, but you'll get more distance the other way, but you can still cast them like this if you want. It's exactly the same as the other cast, except I start with my hands in a higher position than normal. That was it. Simple change of hand position. You might not think it makes a difference, but when you get out there and you're casting in Norway or wherever, and you're casting with big jigs, you'll find out that it makes a huge difference. You'll get a 20% increase on your distance. I'm going to show you again one more time when the jig comes in. So I'm going to stand back a little bit further. It seems simple, it is simple, but it will make a great deal of difference to your fishing. The more ground you cover, the more opportunities you get. Simple as that. If you can get a big jig to fly a long way in deep water, you'd be very surprised at what you catch. For instance, check this out.
Well, where did the... Oh crap. He woke up there, didn't he? I think he might be bigger than I think.
35, 40 pound halibut. Sometimes it will take you a week to catch a fish like that, but it's worth every minute you spend there in the end when you catch that fish. That fish of a lifetime. It's absolutely fantastic. So now I'm going to show you how to tie that knot there. It's called a chain knot, and it acts like a bite trace. It's not too much effort, it doesn't take very long, and it might catch you that fish of a lifetime. So check out this knot. I hope it comes in handy. I'm going to link the last jigging tips video I did in the description. And in that video, this is what brings me to this point, right? In that video, I was giving tips for cod fishing in Norway, that type of thing, light jigging, micro jigging, that type of thing. And I said in that video that you didn't need any high strength knots for that type of fishing. And in actual fact, that is true. But in that video, I lost a fish, not due to a knot failing, but the line failing instead. And something I overlooked in the video, and it's called a chain knot. And I'm going to show that to you now, okay? And in this video, I'm going to show you a high strength jigging knot as well. So there is a knot called a wanna knot, but it is in actual fact 3 well-known knots, more or less. A chain knot, a figure of 8, and a double loop on the jigging line here. And that was the knot I was going to show you in the video, but I changed my mind because I thought it was too complex. But the high strength jigging knot aside, which is the double loop and the figure of 8, which with as many turns as you like on it, in this I'm just going to use 2, but you can use 3 or 4. The more you use, the stronger it gets. But with the chain on it, I don't really think it's an issue, right? So with jigging, if you have any sense, you tie on to the solid ring, right? And I tend not to use clips unless I'm changing jigs a lot. Start with, you make a double loop, okay? And that's just passing through the jigging ring twice. Then you give yourself enough string to tie a figure of 8, right? Which is just 2 loops around the finger, or 3 depending on what you need. So once, twice, through the loops at the back. And you want to get this as close to the other knot as you can. Then you fold it out, makes the figure of 8. Okay. Then you just work it down, get it down to the double knot, and then close it. Okay, there we go. Yes. Okay, now the chain starts. This is the bit that could have saved me the fish in that video. 99% of the time, it's absolutely, you don't need it. But there is that 1%, and I did lose a fish that day, and I almost went hungry. So I should have used it, and I'm going to use it from now on. So a chain knot, when you tighten it, the main line or the leader line has to be under tension. But it doesn't need to be that way until you go to tighten it. So it's just overhand knots, right? One over, right? Keep it tight. Cinch it down, okay? Then you go from the top around and through the bottom like that. Same thing again, and you just continue in that fashion, right? Simple, right? And you build the chain up. What happens in that video was, I think, the knot, the line, maybe this far up, just rubbed against his teeth one too many times, and then he bit me off, right? Simple as that. And I'll just show you a couple of times more, right? Over the top, through the back. Back around the other way. So that way you get a knot on each side of the mono instead of it all being on one side. And that's as long as I think it would be okay with that. That's created a little bite trace. You can continue for a month if you want, right? Depending on how much tag you have. But that's created a little bite trace there. It also stops the knot from tightening down on itself and cutting itself there. So I'm Billy, this is Billy showing you knots. Wherever you are in the world, remember, I'll see you on the beach. Bye.